mynews.studio.
Beneath the surface of the Pacific, a marine reserve larger than the European Union has just been established. Will it actually change our future?
Today is July 8th, 2025. At the UN Ocean Conference last month, all eyes were on the state of the world's oceans. You mentioned only 8% of the oceans are currently protected, but the global goal is 30% by 2030. Do these new marine reserves bring us any closer to that target?
It's definitely a significant move. The most prominent is French Polynesia's new marine protected area, almost 5 million square kilometers. For context, that's actually bigger than the whole European Union. But it's not just about sheer size. The regulations are strict. Deep-sea mining and bottom trawling are banned, while traditional fishing and scientific research are allowed only in specific zones. That's important, because it's a new model for balancing local stewardship with international standards.
So this isn't just redrawing the map for show. Other countries have taken action too. Australia, for example, now claims that 30% of its exclusive economic zone is highly protected. But what does highly protected actually mean in practice?
Highly protected means no commercial extraction. So no large-scale fishing, no mining, nothing that takes resources out of the ecosystem. The aim is to let habitats recover and thrive. Colombia established a new reserve, the Serranía and Bajo Nuevo area, which is about 3,800 square kilometers, focusing on species like hawksbill turtles and green sea turtles. French Polynesia again set aside 1.1 million square kilometers as even more strictly protected. With plans to expand, these areas are critical refuges for coral reefs, sharks, and migratory whales.
And what about the Caribbean countries? They've introduced a 30 by 30 strategy. How does that work at a regional level?
It's a cooperative approach. Small island nations in the Caribbean are working together to reach 30% protection, but they're doing it in a way that also helps their communities adapt to climate impacts. Spain has committed to 5 new marine reserves, aiming to protect a quarter of its marine territory. Greece has started the legal process for 2 marine parks in the Ionian Sea and the southern Cyclades. The Marshall Islands reaffirm protection for nearly 500,000 square kilometers, and the Solomon Islands just set up the 274,000 square kilometer no-take zone.
That's a lot of territory, or water, being set aside. But with all these announcements, how close are we to hitting the 30% mark? Is this enough to reach the goal?
The reality is, we're still not close. A recent study found that to get to 30% by 2030, we'd need to create 85 new marine protected areas every day for 5 years straight. That's a huge challenge. And even the reserves that exist often struggle with enforcement. Drawing boundaries on a map doesn't automatically stop illegal fishing.
Enforcement always seems to be the sticking point. How are these new reserves actually being patrolled? Is it just a matter of monitoring satellite images and hoping for the best?
It's more than hope. Technology is making a real difference. Countries are using satellite monitoring, vessel tracking systems, and even drones to watch over these areas. The High Seas Treaty has set legal guidelines for cooperation across borders. Regional partnerships are increasing. Neighboring countries are sharing patrols and exchanging data. Still, there's a gap between the promises and what's actually happening in the water.
There's also the matter of people. How are local communities being involved? Are their livelihoods being protected?
That's a fundamental change. Local fishers and communities are now active partners, not just onlookers. Many new reserves incorporate traditional knowledge, ways of managing resources that have been passed down for generations, alongside scientific research. There's a real emphasis on community-led stewardship, so conservation doesn't just mean exclusion. It's about sustainable use, making sure healthy oceans and people's well-being go together.
So, to wrap up, these 10 new marine reserves are about more than just biodiversity. They touch on food security, climate stability, and international cooperation. But the challenge ahead is enormous. Is this a real turning point or just another round of promises?
It's a bit of both. These announcements show a new level of ambition and a different approach. Whether it's a turning point depends on what comes next, on enforcement, funding, and involving communities. The health of the ocean and humanity are deeply connected. This isn't the end of the story, but it's a step that could reshape what comes after.
If you care about climate, food, or even just life on Earth, protecting the ocean matters more now than ever.
Thanks for listening. These new marine reserves might be the lifeline our oceans need, or just the start of much more challenging work ahead.
Thank you for joining us. This episode was powered by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.